We just did a video on what the wilderness protocol is for both ham and GMRS radio and how to appropriately utilize it if needed. But is it truly a viable option out there? Let's get into it. If you've ever thrown your call sign out over the radio and the only response you received was from your significant other in another room of the house making fun of you, go ahead and hit that like button. That's great that there's a protocol out there for people to utilize if they need help or they're in distress, especially when they're out in the woodland environment. But has that ever really been put to the test? Well, kinda. So I started doing some research to kind of justify why this is important, and also I had nothing really else to do with my downtime here at the wildfire. So I began to really research this topic, and shockingly enough, I found some cases as recent as April of this year in 2024 where radios kind of came in and saved the day. So let's break them down. So we as humans, just inside of us is just this desire to explore. And one of the things I thought was kind of wild was recently I saw this news report where people were literally driving to Death Valley just to experience the record heat it was getting.
Whether you're staying home or jetting out for vacation, you won't be able to escape the heat. But for some, the heat is exactly what they're seeking. Many have been hitting California's Death Valley in search of a good sweat.
Oh yes, it's very hot. We never see that in France. Of course, there is nothing like this.
This ties into the first case we're going to be talking about, and this case takes place April 6th of 2024, this year. So ham operator Caleb Guswiller of Wasson, Ohio hears a distress call, and there's a person giving a mayday out on 10 meters. 23.430 was the exact frequency the guy was on. But anyway, so Guswiller hears this and immediately starts doing some great work. He starts putting calls out to if anyone else can hear this distress call, and then he's able to get the guy's call sign and the fact that he's actually stuck with his family in the Death Valley Desert. At this point, Guswiller does some really great work here. He immediately looks up the guy's call sign on the national database and finds out that it belongs to another ham radio operator who's based out of San Diego. Then he goes on the Parks on the Air page and puts up a message asking if anybody else out there can hear this station calling. Of course, the ham radio community, again, being one that through my personal experience really likes to help people whenever they can, they now all start, monitoring that frequency, and now there are also up to 80 comments on the Facebook page reeling info about what they can hear. Guswiller then contacts the San Diego Police Department and advises them of what's going on. Then the police department goes out, they do a welfare check at the guy's house, and they determine that nobody's home. But while they're there, the neighbor comes out and advises that, oh yeah, hey, that guy and his family, they like to go camping. So due to all this coming out, the Death Valley National Park Rangers are notified. They begin to do a search of the area, and sure enough, found them in their vehicle, stuck in the mud, and they were able to be rescued without further incident. Another cool example of radio kind of coming in and saving the day. This one takes place back in September of 2020. The parties involved in this one are ham operator Jim Sanders of Dayton, Ohio, and Eric Barrow of Gardnerville, Nevada. So Sanders is monitoring 10 meters in Ohio, mind you. Again, this is another Ohio monitoring station, just like Guswiller was in the last story. And he hears a mayday from Barrow. So this incident is in the same area near Death Valley, and this one was on Highway 89 about 3 miles west of Highway 395. And Barrow is at the scene of a head-on motor vehicle accident, and guess what? Once again, Death Valley, you got it, no cell coverage. So hearing this mayday call, Sanders grabs a pencil and copies all of Barrow's information, then dials 911. Sanders, while he's talking to the call taker and the highway patrol, Sanders remains in radio contact with Barrow in case further information is necessary, which definitely would be. This is kind of standard operating procedure for your 911 centers that the call taker, they're going to remain on the line with you, and as time goes on, if anything changes, you're going to relay to that so that they can pass it on to the dispatcher. The dispatcher can then relay it to the responding unit, so it's a constant flow of information. Well, because of this, Barrow reports to Sanders that the motorcycle operator, from what he can see, is definitely critically injured, and he's laying in the center line of the road, and there are still cars going by. Luckily for Barrow and that whole situation, there was a Caltrans employee that just happened to come along, and he blocked the roadway. A short time later, crews get on scene, the medevac helicopter lands, and the victim was able to be transported without further incident. But just goes to show you another, place in time where there is no cell phone coverage, and radio kind of comes in and is able to make the contact, get the help coming. So this was all good stuff and a great job by all the parties involved. I love that radio made the difference here. But what I am a little disappointed in is that the fact that neither of these situations used a frequency in the wilderness protocol, only because this was just out of sheer luck that these calls were heard and not due to any sort of organized practice or system. But nonetheless, it was heard, and hey, I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week. Another quick point of note here, because Ranch Strategies is a tactical medical and rescue training company, there wasn't a lot of patient information available in regards to the motorcycle accident, but having personally responded to quite a few motorcycle accidents, I can imagine the injuries involved and can understand why Barrow didn't want to touch the guy, probably, for fear of doing or causing any additional injury. But this is where, when it comes to scenes, we always have to be weighing the greater good. And when it comes to trauma care, following the March algorithm will be your guiding light. And is one of the first key principles in that is to get off the X, or, M, move that victim out of harm's way into an area that, in this case, laying in the middle of the road with traffic still coming is not a good spot to be in. And sometimes we just have to do what is necessary. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments. This is a little bit of a different format than what we usually do. I really just hope this drives the point home to keep monitoring the air and get some quality training, especially medical training, under your belt. If you are interested in that, feel free to reach out to us and we can let you know when our next TECC, or Tactical Emergency Casualty Care course, is being held and where it's being held. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have conducted or assisted in any rescue type ops, with your radio, put that in the comments as well, as they would definitely be cool to read. And with that, be safe.